Hello. So today we'll be talking about the functional areas of the cerebrum. The main objectives covered here are the lobes, functional areas of cerebral cortex, difference between motor and sensory aphasia, cerebral hemisphere dominance, and assignment. So coming to the lobes of the cerebral hemisphere, three lines are very important. That is the central sulcus, stem of lateral sulcus, and an imaginary line which join the parieto-occipital sulcus with the pre-occipital notch. So different lobes we are going to see are the frontal lobe, parietal lobe, temporal lobe, and occipital lobe. So coming to the frontal lobe, this is placed anterior to the central sulcus and superior to the lateral sulcus. So on the superolateral surface of the frontal lobe, it is divided by three sulci and we have four gyri. So precentral sulcus with its gyrus, superior and inferior frontal sulcus with the superior, middle and inferior frontal gyrus. The parietal lobe lies posterior to the central sulcus and superior to the lateral sulcus, and a line extending from the imaginary plane connecting the parieto-occipital sulcus to the pre-occipital notch. It contains two sulci and three gyri. The temporal lobe, it lies inferior to the lateral sulcus and a line extending up to a imaginary plane connecting the parieto-occipital sulcus with the pre-occipital notch. So this lobe contains two sulci and three gyri. The occipital lobe, so it's a small area behind the imaginary line connecting the parieto-occipital sulcus with the pre-occipital notch. So functional areas of cerebral cortex. So Broadbent in 1909 divided the cerebral cortex into 47 such areas and indicated each of them by a number. So the type of cortical areas are motor area, sensory area, and association areas. The motor area, so primary concerned with motor functions, they give rise to projection fibers which form the corticospinal and corticonuclear tracts. Sensory fibers, which are primarily concerned with sensory functions, they receive afferent fibers from the thalamic nuclei in which major sensory pathways terminate. Association areas are not concerned with both primary motor or sensory functions. They have more important associative, integrative, and cognitive functions. Association areas occupy over 75% of the total surface area of the cerebral cortex of man. So in the frontal lobe, so pre-central sulcus, so this lies parallel and a little anterior to the central sulcus. The area between them is called as precentral gyrus. Superior and inferior frontal sulci, they run horizontally and divide the region into superior, middle and inferior frontal gyri. Anterior and ascending rami of lateral sulcus divide the inferior frontal gyrus into three parts. The anterior part is called as pars orbitalis, the superior part is called as pars triangularis, and posterior part is called as pars opercularis. So coming to the functional areas of the frontal lobe, So we have basically 5 areas. Primary motor cortex, that's area number 4. Premotor cortex, area 6 and 8. Broca's area, area 44 and 46. Frontal eye field, area 6 and 8. Prefrontal cortex, area 9, 10, 11 and 12. So now we'll take up each one of these separately. Coming to the primary motor cortex, that is area number 4. So this is located in the precentral gyrus of frontal lobe, allows conscious control of voluntary movements. It controls all voluntary movements of the contralateral side of the body. Site where movements of various parts of the body are initiated. It receives sensory input from cerebellum and thalamus. The body is represented upside down along the precentral gyrus. So applied aspects. So flaccid paralysis of the extremities of the opposite half of the body, that is hemiplegia. Note masticatory, laryngeal, pharyngeal and upper facial and ocular muscles are spared as they are represented bilaterally. So next area is the premotor cortex. So it's a secondary motor area, area number 6, 8. They are located in the precentral gyrus, superior, middle and inferior frontal gyrus. It programs the activity of the primary motor area. Stronger stimulation is required to produce the same degree of movement. So it controls learned, repetitive or pattern motor skills, coordinates simultaneously or sequential actions either directly or indirectly, involved in planning of movements. So applied aspects produces difficulty in performing skilled movements. So next area is the Broca's speech area, area 44 and 45, located anterior to the inferior region of premotor area. So present in one hemisphere, so usually the left. The motor speech area that directly involves muscles of speech. It is active as one prepares to speak. Broca's aphasia, loss of ability to produce speech, especially expressive aphasia or motor aphasia. A person with expressive aphasia will exhibit effortful speech. Note, the patient can retain ability to think about words they wish to say. They can write words, understand meaning when they see them. So next we have the frontal eye field, area number 6, 8 and 9, located posterior part of the middle frontal gyrus, controls voluntary eye movements and accommodation pathway. It also controls eyelid movements. So applied anatomy, it is horizontal conjugate movements are lost. So coming to the next area, that's the prefrontal cortex, area 9, 10, 11 and 12. This is the remaining large anterior part of the frontal lobe. It is concerned with individuality's personality. It is concerned with depth of emotion, social, moral and ethical awareness, concentration, orientation and foresightedness. So in case of applied anatomy, due to either trauma or tumor, causes loss of orientation or concentration and judgment. So use of obscene language or urination in public. So coming to the parietal lobe, so it is we can see the post-central sulcus. So this runs behind and parallel to the central sulcus. The area between the central sulcus as well as the post-central sulcus is called as the post-central gyrus. Interparietal sulcus. This divides the remaining part of the parietal lobe into superior and inferior parietal lobules. The inferior parietal lobule surrounds the posterior ramus of the lateral sulcus called a supramarginal sulcus. Similarly, a part surrounding the superior temporal sulcus is called as the angular gyrus, and the part surrounding the inferior temporal sulcus is called as arcus temporo-occipitalis. So coming to the main functional areas of the parietal lobe are 4 in number, that is primary sensory cortex area 312, then somatosensory association cortex area 5 and 7, sensory speech area of Wernicke area 40, and primary gustatory cortex area 43. I will take up each one by one. So coming to the primary sensory cortex area 312, this is located in the post-central gyrus and paracentral lobule. It is represented in the body upside down except the face. Receives information from somatic sensory receptors, that is skin and proprioceptors in skeletal muscles. So thumb, finger, lips and tongue have a large representation. So applied aspects, loss of exoceptive and proprioceptive sensations from opposite half of the body. Note, crude pain, temperature and touch sensation often return due to the functions of thalamus. So next we have the somatosensory association cortex area 5 and 7, located posterior to the primary somatosensory cortex. It assists in integration and interpretation of sensations. Information coming from primary somatosensory cortex to produce an understanding of size, texture, relationship of parts. So applied aspects, agnosis or astigmatism, that's the inability to recognize, identify an object by feeling. Next we have the sensory speech area of Wernicke, or area number 40. So it is located in the dominant hemisphere, so usually the left. So it is located in the inferior part of the parietal lobule. This area is concerned with interpretation of language through visual and auditory inputs. Note, both sensory and motor speech area exist together in one hemisphere only. So applied aspects, loss of ability to understand the spoken and written speech. So receptive sensory aphasia occurs. Broca's area is unaffected, hence speech is impaired. He uses incorrect words or non-existent words. He is unaware of his mistakes. Seems like a foreign language to others. Next we have the primary gustatory cortex, or area number 43. So this is located in the inferior part of the post-central gyrus. Primary site involved with interpretation of sensation of taste. So with this we have completed the parietal lobe. Next we are going on to the temporal lobe. So this contains two sulci, that is the superior and inferior temporal sulcus. This divides it into three gyri, that is the superior, middle and inferior temporal gyri. Mainly we are having two areas, functional areas, that is auditosensory area 41 and 42, and auditopsychic area number 22. We'll take up each of this one by one. Coming to the auditosensory area 41 and 42, located posterior part of the superior temporal gyrus and anterior transverse temporal gyrus. So main function of this auditosensory area is reception and perception of isolated auditory impressions of loudness, quality and pitch. Applied aspects: unilateral lesion, slight loss of hearing as it receives inputs from both the sides. So in case of bilateral, there will be complete deafness. So next we have the secondary auditory area or auditory association area number 22. So it includes rest of the superior temporal gyrus, receives auditory impulses from primary auditory area and correlates them with past experience. This area is necessary for interpretation of sounds heard. So in case of applied anatomy, auditory agnosis occurs, that is inability to interpret the meaning of sounds heard. Patient experiences words deafness. So with this we have completed the temporal lobe. Next we are going on to the occipital lobe. So lateral occipital sulcus, which divides the lobe into superior and inferior occipital gyrus, and lunate sulcus, which has its convexity forwards, so it lies in front of the occipital pole. And next we have the transverse occipital sulcus, which runs downwards into the uppermost part of the occipital lobe. It extends from the superomedial border of the hemisphere a little below and behind the parieto-occipital sulcus. So coming to the functional areas seen in this occipital lobe are two in number: visuosensory area or a striate area number 17, and visuopsychic area, parastriate or a peristriate area 18 and 19. So visuosensory area or striate area 17. So it is present in and around the post-calcarine sulcus. So macular area has largest representation. So main function is reception and perception of visual impressions of color, size, form, motion, illumination and transparency. So main applied aspects are loss of vision in the opposite visual field. There's crossed homonymous hemianopia with sparing macular sparing due to vascular accidents, tumors and injuries or gunshot injuries. Visuopsychic area, parastriate or peristriate area 18 and 19. It surrounds the striate area. Correlation of visual impulses with past memory and recognition of objects seen and also the depth. So applied aspects: visual agnosis, loss of ability to recognize objects seen in the opposite field of vision. So with this we have completed the occipital lobe. Next, coming to the functional areas on the medial surface. So, in the paracentral lobule, there is the highest cortical center for maturation and defecation. So, olfactory area 28, is located in the anterior part of the parahippocampal gyrus and uncus. Coming to the difference between motor and sensory aphasia. So, motor aphasia or Broca's aphasia and sensory aphasia or Wernicke's aphasia. So, in Broca's aphasia, the site of lesion is in the posterior part of the inferior frontal gyrus, area 44 and 45. Whereas in Wernicke's, the site of lesion is posterior part of superior temporal gyrus and adjoining part of inferior parietal lobule, area 22, 39 and 40. So, in Broca's aphasia, speech will be effortful, dysarthria, telegraphic and non-fluent. Whereas sensory aphasia, it will be fluent. In motor aphasia, comprehension of spoken speech is good, whereas sensory aphasia, it is poor. In motor aphasia, ability to read, write and calculate is intact, whereas sensory aphasia, the ability to read, write and calculate will be lost. In motor aphasia, word blindness is absent. In sensory aphasia, word blindness will be present. Coming to the cerebral hemisphere dominance, during childhood, one hemisphere slowly comes to dominate over the other. It is only after the first decade that the dominance becomes fixed. The term dominance refers to the side concerned with perception and production of language and speech. According to this concept, the left hemisphere is dominant in 90% of the people. Left hemisphere is for right-handedness, perception of language, speech, writing and calculating, that is numerical skills. Whereas right hemisphere is more efficient for spatial perception, geometrical and spatial relationship, recognition of faces, creative acts of art and music and non-verbal ideation. The assignment: describe the sulci and gyri on superolateral surface of cerebral hemisphere. Enumerate the functional areas of cerebral cortex with help of diagram. Differences between Broca's and Wernicke's aphasia.